Welcome back to the desk. It's still day 2. The final set is upon us of the day. 4 sets every single day, and this one's going to be important. J-Mac and Anatoly are joining me on the desk. And my favorite thing about this set, it's the team that can't end versus the team that have never ended. Oceania versus the Smite North American minor league team of Armada. Is both the A's Athletico involved too?
Both of them having a difficult challenge earlier on today. Athletico losing to CLG, Armada dropping their set up against Rival, but now they're going to have their second chance. Winner advances, loser going home.
J-Mac, these two teams on paper facing off against each other, expected to be in this situation more than likely with their opposition they faced. Who are you favoring coming into this matchup?
I'm really favoring Armada more than anything. Even though they had trouble ending earlier, I think that they're willing, that they know that they kind of made that mistake. They're willing to move past that, and they've really just had the better showing here up against these teams.
If they can play aggressive the same way they did in game number 2 against Rival, where they get their comfort picks, specifically sBennyQ playing the Shibalanke, also Cope playing the Thanatos, I think that they have the potential to get a clean 2-0 today.
Well, straight away we're going to talk about Athletico, and standing by is Sharks, the coach of Athletico, for an interview.
All right, I'm here again with Sharky from Athletico and Sharky, the person from Athletico. What was the takeaways that you took from your setup against CLG?
All right, so CLG, we knew it would be hard, especially when our focus points to jungler and master is crazy. Probably the best jungler in NA, no worries. So we kind of just wanted to have fun with it. That's why we played Fenrir support and things like that. Game 2 was just good, for us, because we misplayed a lot. We played okay, and decision making was super slow, to our standards. So if we can get our playing up and our decision making faster, it should be okay.
What did you see from Armada that makes you think that you can exploit? I mean, BennyQ had a rough game 1 up against Rival. Is that where you're looking?
No, I'm kind of looking at Cope, because Cope's insane.
Yeah.
Super underrated. Sops were 2v1. It's just, I don't know, Sops and Cope are just insane.
Yeah, those two definitely did pretty well. And tell me what this little guy is going to do for you here this time around.
You can't lose. Tekzy doesn't lose. Sharky doesn't lose. You can't lose.
Oh, easy. Well, there you have it. We don't have to play this necessarily. Yeah, Athletico is going to be just fine this time around.
I mean, I'm supposed to be the gambler, but I ain't gambling on that one. I feel sorry for that little pet shark right about now. That was Sharky, or Sharks, or whatever you want to call him, the Sharkinator, the coach of Athletico. They themselves, they're here for the fun of it, but at the same time, they've still got a point to prove that they're a region that, they've been around a while, but they've still not found victories, Toly.
They need to start throwing curveballs at this point, because it seems that something is just lacking in the competitive side of things. When they get an advantage, they can't really transition that to anything serious. They need to start maybe looking for some cheeky invades.
But they did up against CLG here, J-Mac. I mean, they had opportunities in this game. They got that fire giant. It's just transitioning after the fact, right?
I think that their biggest playmaker here that's really going to have to kind of carry them to this late game is going to be Tekzy. He kind of seemed a little bit underestimated in that second game where he had Ratatosker up against that Mercury for Mask. And he was really putting in work, keeping him off twice at the mid lane Phoenix. I saw Tekzy going 1v1 and getting the better end of Mask. Both times, though, he wasn't able to finish out the kill because the rest of the team rotated.
It definitely is the best jungle performance I've seen coming out of Oceania is Tekzy so far this tournament, Tully. And that's been a few years that we've been seeing the boys coming out here. This team, obviously, a couple of members have been around the block a little while as well. What is it that just needs to come together? I mean, specifically, it's against Armada as well. Should they be, focusing certain characters? I think that's what Aggro was trying to get out of
I think outside of Tekzy from Athletico, maybe Oscha in the solo lane needs to play an aggressive god and have those two in particular start focusing out Bra to get him out of the game. And if you're going to hurt Bra in the solo lane, you're also going to go hurt Cope's jungle side.
Speaking of Copes, he's standing by right now from Armada to get into.
All right, I'm here with Copebby, jungler for Armada. Cope, you guys had some really good moments up against Rival in your set, some not so good moments. What were some of your takeaways from that set?
I mean, realistically, it's just, I think we found out that we can probably play with anybody. I mean, personally, I don't think I played that well. I think the team kind of carried us, especially in the second game, but I don't know. I think going forward, it was a good test to see where we stand with the rest of the teams.
I think it was definitely encouraging for you guys. And what do you feel about Athletico? Did you get a chance to see their set earlier, and how are you feeling going up against them?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it with their coach. I think they understand the game. I think they're fine players. I think we were going to feel pretty confident in the game, but anything can happen. So,
when are we getting the Awilix run back, man? I missed that.
I don't know. I kind of haven't played that god for a long time, so I guess if the time's right, maybe, but we'll see.
That's what they all say. All right, man. Good luck in your matches. Looking forward to it. Back to you guys on the desk.
Oh, maybe we'll see it this game if the picks are right and the situation requires it. That's Copebby. And Armada came into this tournament. They're very self-aware, I want to say, about their situation here. They're not expected to do amazingly well, especially with how dominant Europe has been this year. But at the same time, they're starting to realize that, hang on, we can play with the big boys a little bit. That was Rival that they took on earlier on.
That was going to be their hardest challenge all tournament, I believe. Rival are probably expected by 99.9% of the fans at home to come out as #1, or at least within the top 4 area. So I think that Armada can shake that loss off and just move on with their life, knowing that Athletico are not going to be nearly as difficult.
Really different situation for them than going up against this Athletico roster after facing Rival. On paper, I mean, you already there, J-Mac, going, well, if they could almost take a game off Rival, they should be able to take a game off Athletico. Or two.
On paper, this should be Armada's favored into this one, but you never know with these international teams. You never know if maybe they were hiding something, you know, okay, this isn't going to go well, maybe we're not going to win this. Let's wait, see if we have maybe a little easier of a matchup and bring something crazy out.
Now, speaking of that game that Armada nearly took off Rival as well, it really was that Jabalonke by sBennyQ that led the pack for the team. To have them have that shot, do you take away the Jabalonke? Is that something you really worry about here?
Probably, because you look at the comparison of sBennyQ game #1 on the Freya versus game #2 on the Jabalonke versus Rival, and it looked like 2 different players on that computer, honestly.
But that's sBennyQ, right? That's what everyone keeps saying.
Yeah. And he needs to stop that if he wants to get some wins, because you can't have your first pick being a Freya and then just ultimately feeding the game. And the fact that he takes a non-standard pick, a non-popular pick such as Jabalonke, and performs lights out like that shows that he does have some strengths.
Well, here we go. Into picks and bans. Athletico will have the first pick and the first ban option. Straight away, Athena taken away, so a bit of that global presence. I wouldn't be surprised to see Athletico for the Ratatoska early here.
Possibly.
I guess it depends on like if Erlang or something like that. Sort of, right?
Yeah, Cope definitely likes some Ratatosker every now and then, but he likes to play even more aggressive than that. So Erlang, Shen is up there. Thanatos was up there as well for game #2. And what is that?
That's what? The book?
I think production just told us that's a Hannah Montana notebook.
I don't even know who that is, so.
You wouldn't.
I'm not surprised.
Am I supposed to know?
No, you don't want to know.
Okay.
You're
don't
not
want
from
to
around
know.
these
It
parts.
looked like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. to
I
me.
actually thought that's what it was
was
at
thinking.
first, too.
Yeah.
I was thinking either that or it was like Hillary Duff, Lindsay Lohan kind of thing, but
Okay.
but I don't think so, considering it was a music one, probably Hannah Montana.
Sidetrack. It could have been Freya for all I know. It was about the same sort of card out there from what I can tell. Anyway, Freya, Pele, Athena banned out. The ladies will not be available. Another lady not available. Terra. The girls are not here right now. Boys are available. Erlang, Shen, Baron.
Erlang, Shen, and Baron are available. With Erlang, Shen being locked in, Armada are obviously expecting this kind of a pick. So if you're looking for counter picks, you're thinking of Artio, you're thinking of Odin potentially, and also obviously allowing Cope to play his comfortable Mercury.
Yeah, the boys are back in town. Mercury for Cope. You happy about this?
I think so. This is going to be a good one for Cope here, but I do like Athletico taking the Erlang Shen because it's just going to work out so well. I mean, with the Ratatosker, you have the sim and global, but Erlang Shen's going to have the mobility. He's going to have that good lockdown with the pin as well. And this is a great pickup here for Athletico.
Really interested about this Kukullan hover at the moment. It's been switched over towards an Odin instead, which is effective against both those two junglers for the most part. Tell yourself, we mentioned Oscha for Athletico. You were hoping he was going to get a big dominant god. What would you like to see him potentially look at here? Is a Kukullan a good example? Artio maybe?
He can even play the Erlang Shen depending on what Tekzy wants to play, because Ratatosker could still be picked up here to match the global pressure from Mercury. And if you're going to have that global pressure, then Odin has to be mindful about when he jumps in that laning phase.
You're always a really big fan of Erlang solo. Whenever we talk about Erlang, you're always like, hey, don't forget solo.
I mean, you always have to think about the flex opportunity, right? So, and you're thinking about aggressive picks. If you add a Berserker shield onto Erlang Shen, that's going to give him more sustained options against the Odin.
Well, hover over at Vulcan right now for Athletico. A bit of a page out of CLG's book, who ran it earlier on today as well. Actually up against them. So maybe Athletico have been speaking to get on my level a little bit about running back things that they lost to.
So the best way to combat an Odin ultimate outside of the Phantom, obviously, is to create your own huge AoE abilities that can dissect the team fight almost into a Venn diagram. You're thinking of Vulcan ultimate, you're also thinking of Zeus ultimate, and even maybe the Hun Bats.
Kuzenbo here being picked up as well. Going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. That could be a pretty good solo lane gun, flexible to support too.
Oh, Kuzenbo can go into either of those roles. I personally like seeing the Kuzenbo jungle. I don't think that Athletico is going to go that risky here in this first game here against Armada, but creating the Venn diagram, Opwash is also another god that does go well with that circle, with that cage, because it no longer blocks through that Opwash ultimate. It used to be his hardest counter in the game was the Odin, but now Armada, they're looking at a Venn diagram of their own here by looking at the Zeus.
Yeah, the old El Clasico of Odin ring into Zeus ultimate that we've seen time and time again. It could be here and available. It's pretty effective against Vulcan, and it's actually not too bad against Kuzenbo, although you got to be careful of the return of the detonation damage to yourself because of the Kuz.
Yes, and I think that's why they're switching things up instead of the Zeus, going for the Zhong that's going to have some sustain options after eating a little bit of reflect damage.
I think of Zhong as like against a Kuzenbo, just imagine him popping the ult, and then Kuzenbo stands there and goes, okay, I'll just reflect all this damage. And you're like, no, please stop killing me. Ghost, go back in the bag.
Yes.
Please, no. And Zhong is trying to run away from a Kuzenbo.
And all that damage is just resetting the cooldowns also from the spiked shells. It's a pretty good counter matchup for the Kuzenbo.
Jingwei, Alpwash banned away so far. So with the Alpwash ban from Athletico, they don't believe the Zhong is going to be in the mid lane.
I don't think so. Zhong doesn't really have the follow-up for the mid lane burst mage. We did see Final K play real well in Seoul. He built a lot of damage and he hurt, but Final K was also quite a few levels ahead at that point, had his full item build through.
And the thing is, there's two factors of running Zhong as you want to have mana sustain, and in that you want to have the blue buff and also the breastplate of valor. If you're going breastplate in the mid lane, well, then you're lacking the damage. So that's why you want to usually run him in the solo.
It does look like both these teams are reflecting back on the CLG versus Athletico set here, because Armada picking up the Zhong. I do feel this could be because we saw Final K succeed on it earlier on.
That's probably what they've done their homework on, realizing that, hey, it's definitely stopped Athletico in their tracks. Now it's our time to run it.
So two more bans still to come through. Armada really thinking about what they want to take away from this composition. No real hunter or ranged carry in this situation so far from Athletico. Available options, I mean, we've seen some Hachiman, sorry, a little bit of Ho-Yi so far.
I would still like to see the Ratatoskr as a just in case, but it is going to be the Kumakarna that works really well against all three of these gods here, especially the Mercury. But I would have liked the Ratatoskr just in case this Erlang wasn't going the way of Tekzy, but instead will be the Kumakarna and the Soul in response for Athletico.
I think you could be right. I think Athletico could still go for the Ratatoskr, and that little bit of semi-presence will help them out a little bit, Tolly, to answer back what Mercury is going to bring.
That's true. They need to find ways to get out of the cage, whether it's jungle or the last hunter position. Athletico might need to consider picking up a Ho-Yi, but Armada, with the next selection, might take that option away from them.
Yeah, Armada going to have a long, hard think about what they want to do. They also potentially need a ranged character here as well, in the likes of a hunter. Chernobog available, and Artio now being hovered over as well.
I like that. The cripple stops the Vulcan backfire, prevents Erlang Shen from getting the turtle knockup.
But that becomes a Zhong mid then, right?
Yes.
Has to.
Yeah.
Or unless you're running,
unless you're running Merc ADC, but
you could run.
I mean, Golden Blade exists again. Merc ADC could exist, right?
Yeah, that would be very spicy if
It's
this Artio gets locked in.
Well, I think, to be fair, if they do go for this, then they've kind of given the hand away of where everything's going, and that gives Athletico 2 picks to kind of sort the situation out.
It gives away where Zhong is going, which is mid and Mercury in the jungle, but between support and solo, Odin and Artio would still be in the flexible, questionable.
It is going to be Artio, which does give you the idea that Zhong will be in the mid lane. The Shark on your screen right now. You can't lose, supposedly. Well, with a Ho-Yi locked in, that's one. They need one more to make sure the Shark doesn't suffer a terrible defeat.
The Ho-Yi's going to be a good matchup here into the Odin, dropping the Suns down on top of the cage. Also has a way to get out of the cage. Is probably the most important thing here for Athletico is drafting to get out of the cage. And Ares locked in.
Not something that can get out of the cage, but the cripple is also going to be able to stop Odin from jumping away, stop Mercury from using his escape and the Artio.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not so sure about the Ares, although the Ares no escape into this whole composition. If they can force them all to be pulled in, there's a lot of damage with the Vulcan and the Ho-Yi Suns that are going to follow up. And then you've still got Erlang and Kuzenbo to add to that.
When you're adding an Ares to your own composition, that means you're looking for weaknesses to exploit. Outside of the obvious escapes, you're thinking about the non-CC immune ultimates. Odin and Artio, lacking that category, are going to be the 2 primary targets.
Armada now looking towards Chernobog. They hovered a Hobwa for a second, which would have definitely been, where is everyone going sort of situation. But if Chernobog kind of naturalizes things for a second, we could potentially see the Zhong in the duo lane.
Possible, but...
I mean, we've seen a couple of new wars and the likes and some of the farmier gods. The Zhong is tanky enough to hold out there, but it's not the worst lane to be in.
Well, I think that the Chiron is definitely going to go wherever this Ares goes.
That's
This Chiron's going to be good against the Ares specifically, being able to cleanse that chain on anybody who, besides him who gets pulled. If he gets pulled, he's going to have to be very quick on the trigger. I don't even know if you can time the trigger on that one.
It's 0.3 seconds before the explosion, so there's a very small window of where you can actually cleanse yourself.
Totally, the picks and bans are in. If we take away the names of the teams, who won in the picks and bans?
I think between these two picks and bans, I think Athletico could get some early game momentum, but Armada wins late.
Talk about momentum, is that what Athletico are looking for here? Is this all about the Ares?
Atletico really needs that momentum here, and that's why you pick the Ares, is you want that early kill. It's the same thing with the Kuzenbo and the Erlang Shen. You want a lot of very early aggression to get that game going.
Who's it going to Tolly game one?
Armada.
I gotta go Armada.
Everyone's still feeling it's going to be Armada then, even though Athletico have got themselves a better draft overall. That just shows the confidence level that we've seen in these two teams over the years. Hopefully Oceania can do something. This is a best of 3 after all, so don't forget that. I'm just checking through the list to make sure everyone's all good to go. The players are still getting ready on that. I don't know. I kind of feel like Athletico might take this game. I'm kind of going against you guys here, but I do actually think they might do it.
I mean, they have potential, don't get me wrong, but it's so difficult to combat an Artio when you're a Vulcan looking to backfire consistently. If you have to beads against an Artio, now all of a sudden Cope is going to run you down on the Mercury.
Well, let's find out. The teams are standing by. The casters are ready. Athletico versus Armada. One of these teams is going home.
Thanks a lot there, guys. Great job. Athletico and Armada. One of these teams going to do a great job. Me and Taco on the horn. How you doing today?
Feeling pretty good, and I'm really interested to see what actually shakes down between Athletico and Armada. I think that both of these teams have shown a little bit of insight towards kind of a less competitive side of Smite becoming the more competitive side of Smite.
Yeah, very aggressive. We see the 5-man grouping up from Athletico. We saw what Cope was able to do. Admittedly, in his own words, he didn't really play that well, and that's kind of scary because I think Cope did his job. If Cope's expected to be even stronger, I think that's a worrisome tale for Athletico.
Players that are open to being critical of themselves, I think, are usually the ones that are the easiest to work with, especially from a coaching perspective. I know for Armada, they've got Clow as their coach on the horn, and Clow's always been up and down whenever it comes to seriousness in the competitive environment, but I definitely think that they've been putting in the homework, watching their last sets, and Shank already ready to jump into the action.
I'm loving this play. Athletico go for the push up the lane, and Armada looking on the bad side of things. Shank getting good damage out of those Ares chains, and Sibyl and sBennyQ are essentially going to start this lane off at half HP.
It's surprising, though, to see Sibyl and sBennyQ so willing to push that far up, knowing that there's an Ares on the enemy team. It's not exactly the biggest surprise for an Ares to be waiting around the corner.
Meanwhile, Shank's going to take a ton of damage. sBennyQ doesn't have the kill right there with the training exercise. But yeah, I think what it was, Athletico hid in the jungle. I think Armada figured they were either proxy farming or invading.
If Shank had had the upgraded Horrific as opposed to the Blink, that's a first blood every time.
Every single time, and they'll certainly internalize that. The backfire misses sops, and now what could have been first blood is going to be turned around. Beads used by Tekzy, the pin, and Regan is grinning. Regan, my mistake, but no mistake for Athletico. That's going to be your respawn first blood at 1:25.
Regan knew he had to play Redemption pretty quick for that one. I don't think that Tekzy would have been very happy with his mid laner otherwise. Of course, it's all in good jest, but it is really important to get that early game momentum. That was actually something the analyst has brought up, and I couldn't agree more, because getting those first blood kills and being able to run with that through this match could be something that Armada isn't necessarily expecting.
We've got kind of, 1.5 metas going on. And we'll dive deeper as soon as this little scrum on the left side is over. And Sibyl gonna taste the flames as Shank puts him on the grill. Nice play by Athletico. And really what I was getting at is you have the Pro League teams, NA and EU, and they have this more refined style game. And the minor league teams and the international teams are much more raw and aggressive.
Well, that's actually where things get interesting, though, at a competitive level of play, because for LANs, especially these international ones, you have the moments of the Oceanic teams, especially, I think, always wanting to be the ones that play a little bit more towards that North American aggression play style early on.
Here's a second look at that first blood. Yeah, Regan off the mark there. And Cope picks up Tekzy, but a smart use of the beads, and then the pin is all Regan needs to line up. He's not going to miss the second one. And a relatively routine kill there on the left side for Shank. We'll put number 3 on the side for Athletico as soon as we exit our respawn first blood. So everything kind of coming up Millhouse for ATL, or excuse me, ATH. ATL is where we are and where we're going to be having our Dream Hack November 16th. All of these teams, if you're just joining us, that's what they're fighting for. 4 teams will make it out of this bracket and then wind up on the big stage at DreamHack.
And one team's going to go home from this set today, in fact. Right now, Athletico putting themselves in a pretty prime position to come out in front. But a response at last from Armada as Copebby's going to wind up cleaning up Tekzy.
An interesting start here from sops, actually, as far as itemization is concerned. Not a lot of talk about items today, as I think we've seen a lot of standard itemization come out. There's the horrific, and Shank's going to get jumped on. sBennyQ a little bit far to do the damage, but the basics are landing. That said, Zaze should help out right there. But what's your take on this mid lane start for sops?
Mid lane start for Zops, I think he wanted to go a little bit more aggressive with that pen item start, but realized that he was going to need the mobility, so started rushing the boots shortly after being first blooded, and that's completely understandable. Sometimes as a Zhong, you think that you're going to be safe because you're naturally a little bit more tanky than some of the other mage choices. But Regan kind of just reminding him, you still have to get the itemization online before you reach that point.
Especially as a Zhong, you know that ultimate, you want to be chasing players down. If you don't have any shoes on, you're just not going to be able to keep up. Sometimes even with the slow of the card, players can either beat it or get out of there. So got to keep that in mind. Sops, I like the boots first. I'm just really curious to see where he's going to go after the fact.
And I wanted to elaborate on that LAN meta perspective because normally it's been the North American teams from the SPL starting to adapt a little bit more towards the European playstyle, and I think that's just a tradition that's always seemed to take place, is that the European meta seems to take over, and that's the more passively farmed out, a little bit more calculated and precise around the team fights. But Armada and Athletico, Oceania as well, has always catered a little bit more towards that North American playstyle.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's where they tend to put a lot of their emphasis towards, and because of that, you get this extremely aggressive, fast-paced movements of just constantly trying to maneuver around the map to calculate as many kills as possible.
Yeah, just looking for that aggression. It's very high tempo, and so that's what Athletico is looking to keep up. Right now, about 500 gold in the lead. It's pretty much just the first blood that they got. But Armada aren't really looking for that high tempo in the early game, especially when you put this Zhong in the mid lane. They're looking not for the late game, which is usually where this conversation goes. They're looking for the mid game.
Oceanic teams, though, are notorious for finding kills, but not finding the farm and experience that they need after the fact. And so what I want to see here from Athletico, I don't want to see them just getting the picks and having pressure points in dual lane or in mid even. I want to see them utilizing those picks to then build upon their own leads.
Uh-oh, Shank's here. He's going to be stuck in the cage, but he's going to bring one with him. Sun's come down. Sibyl's in trouble. Shank going to wrap him on up and put the flames on. Flames and chains, not good enough. Sibyl survives. And now Shank and Zaze kind of confused. They don't really know where to go. Up, down, left, right. No damage.
Good little double bounce going to connect there onto sBennyQ. Copebby trying to line up the Sonic Boom, but they're already around the bend. No chances of that Mercury being able to connect. Nice job, though, by sBennyQ to the kind of safety peel for Sibyl so he could get away from that Gold Fury pit.
Yeah, nice maneuver there. And like you said, Sibyl kind of wiggling on out of there. I thought he was dead to rights, but able to find his way out, thankfully. Him and his team certainly going to feel good about that one.
Chains might hurt, but he did go for the reinforced Greaves. Despite having the 2 kills, he would have probably preferred to see the pen boots there for the Ares. Whenever you get off to a nice start, you want that momentum to stay in place. And I don't think that Shank is going to be able to pose the same level of threat as he did before.
I agree. when you're playing the Ares, a big part of what he does is lowering the kill threshold. When you're looking at characters like Ymir, when you're looking at characters like Kumbhakarna, they're more there for the crowd control. They are pure controllers. There's no real peel when you're playing Ares, and how does he make that up? By dealing the damage. And if you're not building into that area, I kind of think you're doing yourself a disservice.
Nice 3-man Sonic Boom, and Regan's gonna be the first one wrapped up inside of it. Doesn't even need to get the Vulcan ultimate out. He won't have a chance. Shank still trapped in the middle of 4 members from Armada, and that's a 2-for-0. 0 response from Athletico. I don't even think they're gonna be able to contest this Gold Fury.
They can't even come anywhere close. Beautiful play by Armada. 4-man collapse. Objective down to 50%. Tekzy up top, Zaze down the bottom. The down player is going to be caught up. Bruh's running out. There's the zonage. Gold Fury 10%. Zaze is at 0. Sops gets the kill. That's number 4. Armada going to pick up the kill and the objective and find themselves with the lead. Not done yet. Wrapping up, looking for red.
Oscha wishes he could have defended his mid laner's red buff, but there's not a chance in hell that's going to happen. Athletico left to lick their wounds after Armada's 2-for-0 exchange. And not only that, but finding a 3rd pick as the Gold Fury is taking place, those are the sorts of rotations that you want to see Bruh consistently making.
Yeah, Armada certainly, that was the most impressive moment I've seen yet from Armada. The way they collapsed in order to get the first 2 kills, the seamless move to the objective, and then the way that they pushed the opponent into the same spot. Athletico had great pathing where they sent Tekzy up north and then Zaze down south, but Armada's positioning was just one better because it forced Athletico to funnel into that one corridor, and that's how they were able to pick up the tertiary kill.
I also really like the cripple field from Bruh on this Artio. Zaze is really going to struggle with his positioning in this game because Bruh's sole duty is probably just going to be to harass this Ho Yi. Without a CC immune ultimate, Zaze doesn't have a very great means of survivability on his own accord. He's going to have to rely on the rest of Athletico to back him up 9 times out of 10. And if that's the case, what's to stop Copebby, Sops, SmiteVOD? They're all still looking to collapse.
Now, I understand why Shank went into the reinforced Greaves. 21 protections is nothing to shake a stick at, and there is a ton of dot damage on the other side. So you're going to get that relevant, those are relevant protections. But again, Athletico need the damage out of their Ares, and it's not going to come right now. The Stone of Binding, I love the pickup. I think that's exactly the direction you want to go with the Ares, but the booty's just not there.
Check out sBennyQ, though, sitting at just about half health, if not a little bit under, and still looking to play aggressive into Zaze. Ricochet not going to connect, but Shank now is the only one in trouble. Getting a 3-man pull onto Sibyl, Copebby, and Sops, but he's the one in danger. Tekzy going to end up falling to the ghost sack.
That's the turnaround that he was not looking for. Oh, and the Ricochet just barely off the mark for Zaze. But Armada, they weren't supposed to get that kill. But they don't really care what you're supposed to do. They're taking it anyway. 5-3 right now, and Armada leading by about 3,000 gold.
I almost wish Zaze would have used his ultimate simply for the slow. It still applies to slow even without that Mark of the Crow. Mark of the Crow is just a more elaborate slow inside of that Sunbreaker. But sBennyQ still able to roll on out of there on the Chiron. And Zaze forced to go back to farming out those waves. I love it so far, though, from Armada. They're allowing sBennyQ to play this aggressive because they're diverting Athletico's attention to elsewhere on the map.
Great job there so far. We'll see how long this one goes, because I do think that these teams are... Well, coming into this, I thought that these teams were rather evenly matched. Armada seems to have the upper hand in this, but I'm not riding Athletico out anytime soon. I've really enjoyed what we've seen out of Regan so far. Tekzy has been hot and cold, but Regan and Oscha, when he's able to really kind of perform with his own characters, I've really enjoyed.
I think there needs to be a secondary Phantom on Athletico. I don't think this solo Phantom is going to be able to cut it from Oscha, especially when you factor in that this is a Kuzenbo solo with the Phantom. So Oscha has had 0 opportunities so far. He's almost level 12 now, and he has not used this relic once. That's practically a wasted buy of an item for the start of the match.
There's the ultimate coming out from Merc. Copebby's just going to wait there. And Zaze is going to go all the way down. 3-0-2 for for the jungle Mercury.
It's just devastating how quick Mercury can be in and out. And I think the worst part there for Zaze is that he was just a little bit too far along that wall where he couldn't jump safely into the lane.
Nene, that's the wrong target, Nene Kappa. The little turtle goes to the big fire giant, and that's enough to wake up the giant that is Armada. Big boy ultimate coming out from Shank, and the Vulcan over the top. Sibyl in the ground. Sops with a hair of HP will find safety up north, and Shank protected by his teammates. It's a 1 for none. Great job from Athletico to answer back to Armada.
By the way, Bruh just zoned out 4 people because Copebby's coming on the backside. Bruh, though, bites off a little bit more than he can chew. Copebby's still trying to stay alive here, but the golden bow proc isn't enough.
Mwah! Beautiful play by Oscha. Keeps the opponent away, and then Zaze on the back line punishes Copebby. Love that team play. Armada, that was funny. They thought that Athletico was sleeping. They thought they caught him lazy backing. But everyone on Athletico just had their eye out the corner. Oscha hits him with the slam, and then Zaze hits him with the jam.
There's something to be said, though, about making things a little bit too obvious. And Bruh has always felt like a player that kind of telegraphs his team's intentions a little bit too soon there. The way that he was poised at that tower line, you could just tell that there was something more coming.
This is a game-tying, that's a game-tying Gold Fury right there. Athletico going to take it down and push the game closer. 2,000 gold right now. Eesh. Tekzy, that one's hurt. That one's going to hurt. That one's going to hurt.
That's unfortunate. Zaze, though, got to be careful. SmiteVOD coming around the corner, and Zaze is running away. This is where you got to go in. Hoyi into the Chiron. He's all by himself.
Well, he's looking for it, won't find it. Armada's going to go get the Pyromancer. And honestly, I thought Athletico were going to get more off of that Gold Fury. I figured they'd get the Gold Fury, Armada would try to respond, and then die for it. So Athletico, they do shorten the gap a little bit. It's now 2,000, 3,000 gold wave to wave. But I really thought that was going to be a bigger opportunity for Athletico. Armada just didn't bite, and that's credit to them.
Armada kind of just recognized, is this Gold Fury worth dying for? And if the answer is no, you can afford sometimes to let a Gold Fury or 2 slip by if it means that you're not going to be in a position to get caught out afterwards.
Cope here on the right, on the left side of the map, looking for the kill. He's caught up on the ward vision, hit up by the mark of the Golden Crow. I think this is going to be a non-fight. Artio making the rotation. Nice ricochet from Zaze, but sBennyQ gets the hit over the wall as well. Both of these hunters have abilities where they don't have to directly hit you, and that was kind of fun.
But the Sonic Boom will connect onto Shank, forced into that. He doesn't even get a chance to get it off. I don't even want to finish the no escape there because he's the one that needed an escape.
Yeah, no escape for the no escape dealer right there, and that's going to be kill number 7. Armada certainly looking lucky here. 4,000 gold in the lead, 4,500, I think, to be a little bit more precise. And Zhong right now is at that point where he's actually significantly scary. Pen boots, dot penetration, and gem of isolation. He's just blowing you up.
But the longer this match draws on, the more I find it difficult to understand some of Athletico's early game relic choices because I just feel like they kind of hindered themselves for their early game momentum swing. I still have yet to see Shank get off a successful blink into the no escape or even blink into chains. I just don't think that they're really getting the full benefit that they possibly could have from their first item relic slots, and now they're falling behind in experience. Everybody on Armada is already at the point where they've got that secondary relic online. We can't say the same for Athletico. Their support is still missing out.
I think that's credit to Armada, though. I think that Athletico had this blink and is looking for Shank to be aggressive, and Armada are doing a great job of 2 things. One, not being in a position to really get blinked on. They're getting hit by multiple shots from that Ares ultimate, but rarely is it a surprise. And 2, they're keeping him in combat, so he's really not able to use it. I think Armada are just doing a great job of handling him.
There's also multiple team fighting abilities that kind of cancel each other out. All that thought, though, Sibyl right now forced to drop the Odin ring. And Zaze, though, won't be forced away from the team fight. Horrific Emblem does come through, but he's stunned in the middle of everyone.
Sibyl gonna find the jump elsewhere, but pulled in by the Ares. Sibyl taken care of by Zaze, and he's gonna match the 7 kill count from Armada. Tekzy brings him one step further, number 8, but Cope cuts down the line and evens it up once more.
It just took Cope a little bit too long. The rest of his team has already fallen. sBennyQ's nowhere to be found. Armada just way too deep without the reinforcements necessary.
Yeah, that just looked like Armada getting a little bit ahead of themselves, thought that they had more oomph than they actually do. So, ton of damage coming out from Athletico. They were able to get a 1 for 3. Kind of ridiculous there. Tekzy dies, but Bruh, Sops, and Sibyl will be tossed to the wayside. Nice team fight there from the Oceanic boys.
To clarify what I meant to by team fighting abilities that cancel each other out, it's because you have members like Sibyl on Armada with the Odin cage, which is ideal for Sops' ultimate on the Zhong, but hold that thought though. sBennyQ wants the 1v1 against Zaze, but he might have taken it a little bit too soon here. Zaze just gonna auto him down, and that's a quick and easy cleanup for the Oceanic Hunter.
Nice play there from Zaze. sBennyQ just went to the ultimate, knew he couldn't really do much. Go for the max damage. But Zaze, strong plays.
If sBennyQ had a Crusher, by the way, instead of this Frostbound Hammer pickup by, he probably kills Zaze first.
Yeah, a very curious build path coming out from sBennyQ here. Tier 1 tower going to fall down. Athletico pushing up further. Nice meatball from Regan. Knocks up 2, but ultimately the Phantom will get them out of jail. And Athletico trying to go for the okie doke. Pin is good. Blink forward from Shank, but Cope from the back line. Cope's going to take out Zaze, who's the big damage dealer. Double un for Cope. Make that 3. Bruh takes down the entirety of the squad. Surprise on surprise. Armada thought they were getting the best, and they do. Athletico all sit down, and the Fire Giant belongs to the minor leaguers.
Athletico had no idea that Armada was setting up that baited trap. They went full hook, line, and sinker into Sops, and by the time they realized what was going on in the back line, it was already too late. That Golden Bow crit proc spread was just decimating everyone from Athletico.
That's the power of Mercury right there. Athletico had a great playbook, had a great play out of their playbook. They go, they push the tier 1 tower, they fall back, they hide in the jungle, and they jump Armada as soon as they show up. The problem was, Cope wasn't north, Cope was south, and he comes out of nowhere with the sonic boom and just guiles all over the place. 3 kills for the jungle Mercury, and that Mercury won that team fight. Cope said himself he wasn't happy with his performance earlier in the day. That right there, that was fantastic. He's got to be happy about that one.
He's definitely starting to make up for it now. Gold Fury, no doubt, not going to be contested here by Athletico. They fully understand where they can and cannot be on this map right now. And even the places that they can be, I'm not so certain about anymore, because you got Copebby with the sonic boom. He can be across the lane in half a second or less.
That was Athletico's moment, Taco. That was Athletico's moment.
To get the Fire Giant. It was Athletico's Fire Giant team fight.
If they win that team fight, they get the Fire Giant, and it's a tie game. And they wipe out these towers, and all of a sudden, it's a whole new ball game. Armada just says no. They trust in their jungler, and they turn it around. Tier 2 tower on the left side gonna fall, and they're gonna look for the fight after the fact. Zaze stunned out on the bottom. Regan stunned all the way home. Zaze is being controlled, and Sops gonna be pushed, so Oscha does find one, but Copebby finally answers and puts down the carry.
sBennyQ on the backside, though, gonna get controlled by Tekzy. Tekzy still trying to stay alive here, but the crits are just too strong. Copebby with his own double kill, and Bruh still holding W. He wants Oscha. Turtle gonna get rooted in place. Kuzenbo still hanging on to dear life. And it's just not going to be enough so far from Bruh. This Artio is going to have to sit and wait, but the left side Phoenix is all Armada.
Exactly. Bro, not getting the kill there, he's totally fine with it. His job in that moment, he's playing bouncer. He's keeping the opponent off of the lawn so that his teammates can take care of the Phoenix. Down goes the left side bird. That was the objective. Armada are now over 10,000 gold in the lead with the base partially broken. This is now Armada's game to win. It's going to require a lot of work from Athletico. They've got to play defense here, Taco, and I'll go to you to evaluate their defensive prowess.
It's all Regan. That's where the defense has to come in from. Regan and a little bit of Oscha for the frontlining factor. I don't think that Shank is going to be very relevant at this stage. He has to rely on the rest of his teammates to buy him time to get the necessary farm so he can participate in this match again, because as it currently stands, he's a 2-shot hit kill for Cope.
Yeah, which now the reinforced greaves do sound a little bit better. The early game is when you want those penetration boots. He's getting blown up. The tank boots are good. And may I say, I actually really like the build here coming out from the Ares. He's going to be surrounded, so he's getting the maximum value from that Oni Hunter's garb and the Emperor's armor. Ares, not the best defensive guardian, like you said, so he's going to do what he can.
He's trying to throw his team a bone wherever
Yeah.
he can, and that's exactly all that Emperor's armor is intended for here. sBennyQ and Bra going to make up the right-hand side, but
Be
Bra,
under the tower.
he's already going in. The entirety of Armada isn't even here, and yet BennyQ's already dropped the Chiron ultimate.
Cope I don't know if Cope realizes there's a mid lane tower standing. So the of course he does. He's looking to occupy the time of the enemy jungler. But it just looks silly seeing somebody behind the tier 2 tower. That's it, boys. Take care of the tier 2. Armada doing their class work. They're going to take it and go ahead back to base. Fire Giant just now falling off. And it's going to spawn in about 52 seconds. So Armada will look one more time to reaggress. Just shy of 24 minutes here, folks. 16-13. And Armada up a ton of gold. They are definitely setting the pace.
Surprising, though, to see Athletico still doing a pretty decent job at keeping up in terms of experience. These levels are nowhere near as bad as they could possibly be when you factor in what kind of a gold lead Armada have right now over Athletico. 15,000 is pretty steep.
It definitely is really big, and now you're looking for the game reset, which seems very, very far. Atletico need to stall for, I would say, 10 minutes plus at this point if they want to really even this one up. And Armada, to be fair, can certainly take a while to jump in. I want to bring up this carry build here. SmiteVOD kind of doing something weird. Transcendence and boots, sure. Then he builds Mace 2, leaves it there, buys a full Frostbound Hammer, finishes Crusher, and then buys a Bloodforge. So I like late game Bloodforge, sure. Frostbound Hammer is a little bit curious, but I guess because Cope's the real damage dealer here.
BennyQ's build is perfectly fine outside of that Frostbound Hammer. There is zero reason for him to still be holding on to this item. He should have sold it.
At the same time, Crusher is more effective early and mid game, and he finishes it here towards the later stages. Is he still
BennyQ's
getting
always
value?
been cooked when it comes to itemization choices. He is always been a player known for his theory crafting.
Sure.
And this is just one of those situations where, can it work? Of course, anything can work when your team is up by a billion gold and
Right.
tons of levels, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily ideal. I would not recommend Frostbound Hammer on Chiron to anybody.
Cope loses the fight against Tekzy, and I think that's really what that might be about. Just allowing Cope to get more damage off as players are just slowed to the high heavens. That's my best guess, at least, as I
Because
shrug my
Masterful
shoulders.
Shot doesn't slow them already.
Exactly. Tekzy blinks forward. Cope reads it, though. 180 dash. Cute little play there from the jungler.
And he's not melee. He's ranged. He doesn't even get the full benefit of the passive. I don't want to go on any longer. BennyQ's fried.
Right side is where the aggression's going to come. Cope dealing with Tekzy. On the left side, Tekzy knocks him up, and the Aegis is forced out. Tekzy's going to dodge out some of the damage, and he's chased. Right side, different story. 4-on-4. Shank going to grab nobody. Chase out some relics, and there's the Suns. Sops by himself, trying to take on 3. He'll actually get 1, but Armada having some trouble here breaking the Aussie base.
And that's the downsides of trying to fight into this Vulcan. Tekzy now still looking to aggress onto Sibyl on the backside. Bruh, he's not going to be able to bring down that Phoenix all by his lonesome, but he might have a stab towards Tekzy and Oscha. And drawing back to this failed Phoenix siege, I can't help but wonder what things would have looked like if BennyQ had had an Executioner instead of this Frostbound Hammer.
And that's where he's building, unless he's going into the chin side. We'll see in a matter of moments. Also Executioner or Titan's Bane. Either you go Executioner and you destroy the opposition, or you go Titan's Bane and you destroy the Phoenix.
It's just the attack speed. It was the lack of attack speed on that Phoenix. Look at that. It's so low in health that he would have very easily had that Phoenix had he had the relevant attack speed to capitalize on it, because Copebby is busy distracting Tekzy. I think that was still the correct play from Cope, despite being soloed in the long term. I think that drawing away a member from a squad that's already behind in a base defense situation is just going to put more pressure onto Regan as the Vulcan.
I would actually argue here, looking at BennyQ and evaluating his Frostbound Hammer as an item to really set up what his jungler is going to be doing, I think that BennyQ and Cope probably should have changed positions. Let BennyQ go and try and deal with Tekzy, and maybe
he can't.
He can't just lose the fight?
He will just die instantly if he tries to challenge the Erlang.
Because Cope is going to destroy the Phoenix in a matter of seconds, right?
But Cope also has to get within melee range. That's the big issue here for Mercury on these Phoenix Sieges, is that yes, you can split push or threaten the split push, but if Armada were to have swapped BennyQ with Copebby on that Phoenix defense,
combo.
I don't even think Armada put pressure onto the Phoenix, because you need that range against the Vulcan. Vulcan is the main reason why Athletico still have a chance for this match to hold on to, because as long as Vulcan is alive, trying to siege these Phoenixes is going to be a very painful experience for Armada.
Part of the reason why I think Sibyl is so important here in the later stages of the game. That cage is going to keep Regan in check. It's going to lower the attack speed of Tekzy and Zaze. That cage is so imperative for Armada to use correctly. This is the ultimate akin to when you're defending with an op wash. If you blow the ultimate at the wrong time, you just lose the damn fight and essentially the game. So Armada have to make sure that Sibyl's ultimates are on point, and that's how they're going to find their way to the victory.
On the bright side, though, Athletico's left-hand Phoenix is still fully exposed, and they've had to worry about that. Their Titan did take a little bit of damage during that right side siege, but Armada unable to basically dance with Athletico long enough for it to continue to remain an issue with the fire creeps pouring into the base.
Half hour into game one here. Kill count relatively close. Actually, almost tied. 16-17. That's the beauty of our game. It's a MOBA. It's all about the gold, baby. And Armada, all gold, everything. That gold, close to being irrelevant, though. Athletico, I said before, they needed to stretch another 10 minutes, and, well, it's almost been 10 minutes. They're close to it. This Fire Giant belongs to Armada, and if Athletico stop this next Fire Giant push, it's a tie game. I don't care what any of the numbers say on the screen, Athletico are right back into it.
Left-hand Phoenix will also get a chance to respawn, and Tekzy is the right member for Athletico to have sent to that left-hand side. As the jungler, he's got plenty of mobility and self-survivability that I don't think anyone from Armada could have reasonably threatened him or would have wanted to waste their time chasing him around on the left-hand side. I am expecting Armada to try going for a full 5-man grouping this time around, though, on this right side siege.
Left side bird now respawned, and fire minions not a threat. Tekzy did a good job of pushing it up all the way up, so not going to be too concerned about that. 3-2 push from Armada. Sops and Cope shading over to the middle lane. Bruh kind of playing free safety in between. BennyQ and Sibyl committed to the right side as they were before.
And I think Armada want to go for this left side Phoenix, but they can't. Tekzy already at just above half health. This isn't a good look right now for Athletico, but Shank with the pull, and I think he's got bruh.
Yeah, big knock-up, and that's going to be the death of the solo laner. Zaze on the good side. Shank relatively low, but Tekzy dodges out the jump from Sibyl. 80% of the Phoenix in the middle lane. Armada still trying to push in. Pin is good. Vulcan not going to find the damage. And the ultimate from BennyQ. Tekzy still alive. Athletico defend the middle lane Phoenix and bring the jungler with them.
They can't get through Regan. He is refusing to let Armada take any more shots at these Phoenixes. This time, it's even less than the right side Phoenix. Not even past the half health mark on that middle Phoenix. And Armada, the frustration is going to start showing eventually, I think, especially with these more inexperienced teams for competitive settings. The failure to siege over and over again will eventually wear down on you mentally and sometimes even physically.
Absolutely. It's certainly one of the more exhausting portions of the game. Doug right there pointing out sBennyQ's chin size, so he has some additional attack speed online. Is it enough, Taco? Are you pleased with sBennyQ?
I'm glad the sBennyQ experiment has ended and he's sold the Frostbound Hammer for an Executioner. He's ready to rejoin the world of Hunters again, and now Armada will have a much more feasible shot at sieging one of these Phoenixes.
Oh, don't do this. Don't die over the Gold Fury at 33 minutes. That is a huge mistake. Athletico going to look for it. Tekzy split pushing on the left, uses his blink to get away. I like that move. Gold Fury abandoned by Athletico. And again, big fan. Big fan. Big fan. It is 33 minutes in the game almost. If you lose by going for Gold Fury, I will mock you on the desk.
Athletico, if no one was going to come contest it,
Go for it.
They're more than happy to go for it. I am glad that they also decided to back off there.
Yep.
I'm right there with you. There's
This is
zero
enough.
reason to die for that Gold Fury. It's completely irrelevant at this stage. Your entire team is practically full build outside of, Regan, because he's going for really expensive items as a mage. That's just understandable at this point. More importantly, though, Athletico have zero reason to even leave their base right now. When you are that successful with your Phoenix defenses, there is no reason to go outside of that Phoenix range.
Take the 6-on-5. Athletico have an additional player, and his name is Phoenix. Just fantastic job from Athletico, having the discipline to walk away from that. That's a trap that we see the less experienced teams get into. Just mentally, they think you got to defend every objective, so they get out of jail there nice and easily.
I think the only other change I would want to see for sBennyQ, depending on how this next Phoenix Siege goes, possibly switching out that kin size for an Odysseus bow. I almost feel like the spam procs from the Odie bow would serve a little bit better here for Armada, and it might even prevent Shank from being successful in an Ares blink initiation, because when Armada is all in committing underneath these Phoenixes, that's been another problem they've been encountering. Bruh has the mag eyes, or he had the mag eyes, but he can't stop himself from getting pulled in from a no escape. When he blinks forward, he is all in committing onto that Phoenix. That's go time for Armada, and that just hasn't been the case. They've been so unsuccessful from Bruh's initiation, but Bruh's about the only real frontline that they have.
Exactly. And Shank's positioning has been strong, but Shank's positioning in these team fights, he can be relevant, flame, chain, step back, wait 3 seconds, blink forward. With the threat of Odysseus bow, he doesn't have that option because he's getting zapped and kept in combat. So he's going to have to stay completely out of the team fight and blink forward, and the lack of cripple and flame damage will actually be a big deal.
The Mantle of Discord procs as well on both sides have been catching the other team off guard at such pivotal moments. Armada, I think, were really close to sieging that mid lane Phoenix, but I believe it was Cope who procced the Mantle of Discord proc from Shank, and that ended up leading to him just getting stunned for a second, and then he was in a panic, trapped inside of the Phoenix room, because as a Mercury, there's only so far you can dance around.
Just like one of those escape rooms. Help! I can't find the puzzle piece.
Well, Regan sent him back to base. Oh, speaking of Regan,
Yeah.
just look at that damage. One Magma Bomb onto sBennyQ just takes out a fourth of his HP.
Multiple knockups as well. Regan has been very accurate as well. Numbers are numbers. You bought the right items. That's good for you. But I've really enjoyed Regan's accuracy and his positioning as well. 4, 4, and 8 against this composition as a mid lane mage. Impressive.
I think sBennyQ is also starting to regret having Blink on Chiron as opposed to a standard relic like Aegis against a Vulcan, Ares, Erlang, Shen, Kuzenbo, Hou-Yi. I mean, I just listed the entire team because it's an entire team you should have Aegis against.
Yeah, I think this is objectively the wrong choice.
That's sBennyQ memeing. I'm fully convinced. I think that those are the kind of situations, though, where in competitive level play, you're just going to get punished for it.
Yeah.
And that's been exemplified in the last couple of Phoenix pushes.
Absolutely. Armada kind of getting punished for their eclectic thought process. See, look at Regan's positioning here, all the way back. I love this positioning. There's no chance of him accidentally getting smacked up. Copebby looking for the back line, and he's getting smacked up by Regan. Launches the 3, misses, but it brings everybody close up and forces them into the clutches of Shank. Right side Phoenix relatively in trouble. Did they get it? They did get it, but now Armada are on the bad side of the team fight. Although here comes sops. Makes it rain, 2 for 1. And Armada, woohoo, 2 for 2. Regan ain't done. Makes it nice and even. But Athletico can't defend the bird this time.
It's a shame SmiteVOD didn't blink away from that meatball. Regan gonna bring down the Hunter from Armada. Beautiful play, though, from sops. I'm pretty sure sops just saved his entire team from wiping.
The patience of the Zhong ult right there, because that team fight goes on, and that's chaotic. If you guys haven't either heard professional comms or played on a high-end team, it's hard to explain how chaotic that team fight is, and people are calling things. And it's not that they miss the Zhong ult, they just go, all right, everything's dead. Did he use ult? And then, and everybody hits the ground.
Patience is a virtue, and just like how we saw Regan so patiently positioned at the very far end of that Phoenix wall, sops was doing the exact same thing. I think the most unfortunate circumstance there for Athletico is Regan pulled the trigger too soon on that Earthshaker. I think he should have held onto that Vulcan ultimate just a little bit longer or placed it closer in, because Armada were looking to collapse. They were trying to bail Copebby out. They were trying to get Bruh away from the action. And instead, they get Athletico to finally push outside of that Phoenix range, where sops just has a field day.
I think that was a true, we joke about this all the time, Taco, the zoning ult. I think that was a true zoning ult. Regan ults behind the back of Armada, so they can't back up, and they walk directly into Shank, and Shank picks up 1 kill. The problem is that Zaze and Tekzy weren't really there waiting, so Regan pops the ultimate, forces Armada forward, but they only get 1 kill, and so Armada goes, okay, we can still keep walking forward, and then they take it. Left side Phoenix has already been shut down once before, so a little bit weaker. Want to point out the fact Athletico have the Emperor's armor, so does Armada. The answer back, oh no, he traded it out actually. So no, it's just Athletico with the Emperor's armor at this point. So they will have a little bit of a boon as far as their Phoenix is concerned.
I don't think that Armada are really all that concerned about getting an Emperor's armor to try and negate the effects of the defensive.
Look at Cope.
He's real deep. He does not want Athletico to see him charging up this Sonic Boom. Mercury's still slightly visible, but it's just one of those situations where you kind of forget he's there in all the action.
He's just sitting there holding, backing down, waiting for it. Pushing forward is Bruh. Cope, Sonic Boom! Gets 1! 1,000+ crit! The hammer comes down from Mercury. Sibyl and Bruh on the run, though, because Athletico's dealing a ton of damage. There's Sop's ultimate, gonna cause the spread. And now everybody relatively low. Shank gets 1. Zaze gets another. Oscha on the run. Tosses the Kappa. sBennyQ and Sibyl are going to turn around and kill the tiny turtle. But the shot over the top goes top shelf. That's where Mommy hides the peanut butter. Athletico get kill number 23. Make that 24 as they defend their Titan room against Armada.
And I know I joked about it the first time, but legit, if sBennyQ had a freaking Aegis, none of this would be an issue right now. I honestly think his inability to avoid damage has been super problematic because Armada are so busy trying to peel for their Hunter and get him out to safety that they're just getting smothered from Athletico. Sops unlucky as well there, I think, on the Zhong push-in. It didn't work out the same way that I think they were trying to envision from the right-hand side.
That was the opposite of what Sops did last time. He held the trigger forever last time and was rewarded for it. This time goes a little bit too early and gets punished for it. Athletico defend their Phoenixes and their Titan time and time again. They were down 10,000 gold. They were waiting to lose. The defense ties the game, and now Athletico with Fire Giant under their wings. Taco, they've not only evened this up, they might have shifted momentum in their own favor.
They're not out of the woods just yet, though. The real rat race has only just begun for Athletico. Sure, they had a successful base defense a few times over, and yeah, they've got the Fire Giant now, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee a recipe for success here. Armada, for as hard as they've had, or as difficult of a time as they had trying to siege into this Vulcan, I think Athletico is about to encounter the same experience up against sops.
Athletico has as far as compositions are concerned, Athletico are not as well equipped to play defense as Armada is. Sibyl and sops and Bruh are 3 of my favorite defensive characters when trying to defend your Titan room. Bruh just takes up a bunch of space, AoE stun, AoE cripple. Sops is a walking fear no evil because you can't stand next to the ulting Zhong. And Sibyl literally puts down a ring around you and either traps you in or keeps you out. Armada are so confident that they're defending their tier 2 tower instead of the Phoenix, which gives you better geography.
This is dangerous, though, for Armada. It's dangerous for Athletico also, because if either side wipes, 2 deaths even, could spell absolute catastrophe for both teams. This respawn timers are really starting to work their way up there. We're talking minute and a half respawn soon enough. I believe it's at the 72nd-ish range right now.
Yep.
And that is still way too long. Athletico not even feeling all that confident. Instead, no, they're trying to bait Armada to step forward, thinking that Athletico has left the area.
Fool me once, but they blink forward. Bruh's gonna be caught. Knocked up is good. Half HP. He gets away. Regan over the top. He gets SmiteVOD from 100 to 0. We'll see you later, Mr. Carry.
Just blink out of it, SmiteVOD. Just blink. Where's the Aegis? What? How much would you have loved to see your Chiron EDC with an Aegis there over the blink?
That was, yes, that is the punishment for not buying the Aegis against Regan. Right side bird is being aggressed on. 45 seconds before the Chiron returns. The bird is down, and Armada, they are now, their base is open. Fantastic turnaround from Athletico. 43 minutes into the game. Atletico have 25 kills to Armada's 20, and their defensive prowess have brought them to the point. The cliche is the best offense is a good defense, and Atletico are putting that to the test. Cope lined up from the right side, but it's all about Shank's initiation.
Copebby might have the saving grace here for Armada. SmiteVOD up in a few seconds here. You can still get some relevant damage out as long as nobody else from Armada falls. They need to stay alive until they're all 5-man group. Shank, though, going to pull in Sibyl. Huge Vulcan going to come ripping through, but Copebby in the nick of time. It's just not enough. 3 members already dead. Sop's about to join him. Egg is trying to buy some time, but it isn't there. Zhong falls.
SmiteVOD's the only one alive. He has his beads up. Here comes Tekzy, knocked up, knock him down. Athletico defend their base for 30 straight minutes, and they take the enemy down. Game 1 in the books. It belongs to the land down under.
I don't care what anybody says. SmiteVOD cost Armada that game. SmiteVOD is the reason why they lost, and I hope that blink was worth it. If you want to make a joke out of the Oceanic team because you think that they're not going to get punished for it, that's what you get for it.
I agree. I completely agree. I mean, this is just not what you do. Not what you can do right there. Copebby looking very, very upset. And Regan, you can see Shank thanking Regan. I think Regan is a very big part of what wins this game for Athletico.
Huge shout-outs to Athletico as well. The mental endurance, it's not just for the offensive team when they're failing to siege time and time again. That also plays in part for the defensive side too, because it wasn't just one time that they had to watch their Phoenix fall. That happened on multiple occasions that Armada was able to strip away a Phoenix or two, and yet in the end, Regan and the teamwork from the rest of Athletico, really fantastic stuff from the guys. That is a huge momentum swing, and I think a heavy mental blow to Armada.
I talk about the science of the set, and I really think that this is one of those games that carries over to Game 2. Athletico put on a fantastic performance. This is the VOD you watch to learn how to play defense. Let's go a step deeper with Hindu on the desk.
Congratulations to Athletico. A long encounter. A back and forth encounter too, where for most of it, Armada led the game. Start of it, Athletico. Middle of it, Armada. End of it, Athletico.
FDOT even said it on the cast 24 minutes in, where there needs to be at least 10 more minutes just for Athletico to get back into the game. It was great defense, specifically from the Vulcan mid, that made it very difficult for Armada to really penetrate that Phoenix's.
For me, Regan was definitely the highlight player for that team, and Tekzy as well. Tekzy had some great plays, but Regan really, as long as Regan was staying alive, that team was guaranteed to hold that siege. The one time they died, they lost the Phoenix, but they won the fight after.
The Earthshake on the right-hand side, one-shotting sBennyQ, that'll be the talking point for sure. That actually broke the game apart there, Tolly.
Even like the meatball when sBennyQ was entering the right side
Yeah.
Phoenix at one time, it's just some very questionable decisions from this Chiron Hunter out of Armada, especially considering his relic selection.
Yeah, the relic really did hurt him. Having that blink there, not having the Aegis, could have survived the damage. But it came back to haunt him. Overall, though, congratulations to Athletico, who, for a moment or two, it didn't look so good, did it? It looked like it was going to go down the same old path around the mid-game where they started to struggle, but they found their home synergy, I guess, and the fact that they're having to defend their base and do so very well.
I mean, the couple of picks that Armada was getting under these Phoenixes early looked like that was going to be it for them, and they could push in, but consistently keeping Regan alive and keeping really just the carries online was the big namesake here for Athletico in these pushes. And we can see the first blood here by Regan, just so patient with his gameplay.
They're just waiting around for the right opportunity. Well, the teammate got into pressure, but then sops oversteps his mark.
And sops was having a great late game despite giving up the first blood,
Yeah.
just doing what Zhong really needed to do there. Regan from downtime, forcing out Aegises, still clipping out certain targets, keeping his distance away from sBennyQ's ultimate.
We talk a lot about position on the mid laner and a Vulcan specifically in these sort of matchups. You've got to stay so far back, and his position was really on point.
Especially when you're going up against a god like an Artio, you have to stay in the back because your backfire is not only your primary source of damage, it's your primary form of escape as well. And by him sitting so far back, it forces Armada to run into the team to get him.
Do you want to give a bit of a shout to Shank, though, on the Ares? Australia have always loved, or Oceania, I should say, always loved a bit of Ares throughout the years, even Season 1, but it was nice to see them go back to it here, and it worked out very well for them.
Well, it's not just Oceania that likes the Ares. Everybody
know.
likes the Ares, honestly. Like, having so much damage inside of his kit, I think that if you are confident in your own mechanical abilities, then Ares is probably the best go-to pick.
That Shark is there.
That's why.
He mentioned, you know,
right, the Shark.
Sharky before in the interview, Coach Sharky was saying, as long as we got the Shark, we can't lose.
He's got the shark, he can't lose.
I guess that's the case now. Well, we'll see if that can continue into Game 2 then, as Armada now have to bounce back. And talking about Armada a little bit, the heads didn't look too happy there. They had control of that game totally for a considerable amount of time, and very dominant from them for large majorities of the game.
They missed one opportunity where Cope was getting zoned away from Tekzy in the 1v1, not necessarily winning that matchup on the left-hand side, and as a result, it delayed the right side Phoenix siege for so long, and this Ares pull was so beautiful to find the last hit onto Cope.
Yeah, these games just went backwards and forwards. And mainly, as you can tell by a lot of what we've seen in the replays here, was tower or Phoenix defense from Athletico. But to be a successful team, you have to play from behind sometimes.
And they just held those Phoenixes and those towers for so long, and Shank just really strutting his stuff, going with the blink chains there, getting the kill on the Sibyl. But defense is probably one of the biggest names here in Season 5, being able to hold yourself on these Phoenixes, and Athletico just played these perfectly throughout, and really, Vulcan's hurt is one of the worst things to fight into as well.
So proud of this Oceanic team already. They've already, well, put themselves in the history books as one of the most successful Oceanic teams already, and that's not firing shots, that's just facts and statistics.